Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Bodio. With me, I have Kaylie Horowitz.
Yellow.
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
Party horn sound, 50th episode. Woo!
We're gonna celebrate that, but I have a question for both of you.
Okay, sure.
Breaking news as of, when does this go up, on Thursday? Approximately 72 hours ago.
Oh.
Have either of you seen The Blind Side?
Yes, everyone's talking about this. My family got into a fight discussing the legality of this the other evening.
I love hearing that.
All I remember is that, boy, that was the movie of 2009.
Dude.
It was. It truly was.
They showed it at school. They showed it at church.
Yep.
All the time.
It was an everywhere, like, all-in-one movie for, like, universal, like, all right, any situation, we'll go.
White people did good. Watch this Oscar movie.
It was the perfect, like, movie to suffice all of these markets. It's family-centric. It's wholesome. It's a little white saviory, but it's also about
white
football.
The
and
entire
about
movie
Southern
is white
culture. and wow, it's amazing how many boxes this thing can check, and yet it feels so heartwarming and wholesome until.
Meanwhile, these old white folks had that motherfucker locked up like Britney.
Oof.
I saw some headlines today that says the Tuohys, I think, is how you pronounce their name.
Refuted to explain, right? Because there's probably people who don't know what this is. The Blind Side, Oscar-winning movie from 2009, was made about the, quote, true story.
Heavy quotes.
Yeah, heavy quotes. Turns out it wasn't very true.
They lied!
Of the Tuohy family taking in and adopting ex-NFL player Michael Oher is how you pronounce it?
Michael Oher, yep.
Oher. Yeah. And how he was an orphan and they saw he was big, so they took him in and they trained him up at football and he played for Ole Miss and it was supposed to be this
O-line.
Yeah, he was because he defended
Wasn't he linebacker
quarterbacks
for the or not the Eagles?
The Ravens.
I don't remember what NFL. We don't care about NFL in this house. We watch SEC football.
Hell yeah.
I care a lot about NFL.
Either way, it was this story. They made a book. They made a movie.
Yeah.
These white folks made a lot of money off this shit. Turns out
the lady was played by Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, the mom was played by Sandra Bullock.
On top of already having made a lot of money because they were like fast food restaurant, like franchise owners
they were
in that area.
Turns out, as opposed to adopting Mr. Michael, they put him in a conservatorship, and he did not see a dime. They controlled all of his NFL money. They controlled all of his college money.
Was it also his NFL money too?
It was.
Shoot, was that in the article? Like, I kind of just saw the headlines for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know. Bo's eating something right now.
He's got snacks.
I was gonna eat chips, but that was bad for the audio, so I got grapes.
That's acceptable.
Good.
I saw an article from the Tuohys refuting it, saying something about like Michael just not understanding all the concepts of like all the legality and all that. I don't know.
I'm sure his lawyer does.
Right.
I would just
whoever was also probably
negotiating
his NFL contracts, like those things that my man's like jumped into pre The Blind Side. Like
I would just find it funny if like it all turned out that like Michael's completely right and they were lying this entire time and we had to sit through that movie so many times.
Because the thing that we were arguing about, this was our dinner conversation 2 nights ago, where we had an almost even split, I won't say how, of the sort of like who's sidesing, because I agree, I don't think it's necessarily a like one is only morally good and the other people were just somebody was taking advantage of somebody. I think it's probably a mix of both, because there is no clean universality in that way, the way that we make movies that go based on a true story and you can tell who the good guys and bad guys are. Our opposition party was saying, well, why weren't they also pulling all of his NFL money if he was in a conservatorship? To which my thought is, well, if that's like his deal, but that's not necessarily, if you're already doing well enough on that, but you've heard that somebody's writing a book based on this experience, because the book came out really fast after everything happened. And then within a year of that book was the movie.
Yeah. So the idea that they weren't written at the same time is
right. Like to understand that this boy was going in to the NFL to play over 7 years, because he started in 2009, I believe, and then retired in 2016.
I think so.
Probably earlier.
Question mark? I don't remember.
But over that entire time, only made $67 million out of his NFL contracts, compared to just its like theatrical gross. Blindside made $300 million. And
the Toohey family got or continues to get what, 2.5%.
And I was going to say that's not, I don't even think that's counting all of the residuals and licensings and every airline and TNT, TBS channel that wants to rerun this movie every other weekend. Like,
I also want to just bring up, like, this isn't relevant to the legality of it, but the beginning of that movie, if I remember correctly, starts with the clip of the Joe Theismann hit from the 1980s, to have Sandra Bullock come over and say, like, this is what happens when you don't protect your blind side.
Yeah.
And it's the most devastating, gruesome hit in NFL history, where a quarterback's career immediately ended.
Yeah.
And like presented some, if I recall correctly, life-threatening injuries, as every bone in one of his legs was shattered.
Yeah.
And they just thought, this is great for the church kids.
Right.
It's violence. It's not sex. It's fine.
Joe Theismann's just like, fuck me, right?
I could pop off about how my old home church hates gay people, but is willing to show UFC fights and hold Halo 2 tournaments in the youth center.
Oh.
I could pop off about that. That's a different conversation.
There was a church in our town that hosted, like, Fight Club for the middles.
Yep.
Not, like, officially, but they were like, all right, the middle schoolers
are gonna go punch each other. It's fine. It's with God.
It's fine.
Straight.
We'll do some divinations, and we'll do some Bible study after.
Divinations.
Cool.
But
divinations at the church fight club. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm very tired.
The reason I brought it up was not because, God, how funny it is, but because I wonder what responsibility do the film makers, producers, and everybody who took part in, whether intentionally or not, took part in that lie. I wonder how do they, and how would they, should they approach the situation? I know step number one is I wouldn't say if I was Miss Bullock, I wouldn't, at the very least, right, or whoever directed it or was in it, I wouldn't say shit until the law
Mr. McGraw and Miss Bullock are gonna sit there and go, nope.
Yeah, like I wouldn't come out and acknowledge this until like the law part is figured out.
Yeah, like if you start saying something, then I think you're inserting yourself back into the situation, which currently all it is, well, I got hired to do a job, they gave me a script, and we did a thing. And that's my job as an actor. If I agree with what's in here or I don't, what have you, and if I have real problem with it, then I'd step out of the project. But this is the job, is they've given me things to say and we're making a movie and I'm going to do that and commit to it.
Yeah.
But I think more of it probably falls into your producers and your rights holders that were in those negotiations of how things were going to get portrayed.
Yeah.
And how it was being rewritten. Because also the biggest grievance is that this boy didn't know anything about football.
No.
When they took him, that is all fabricated, like his naivete to, oh, what's football? What?
And
I can do this?
And these MFs are lying about it because in the ESPN article, they were like, oh, we didn't make a cent off of the movie. We just made money off of the book. It's like, bullshit. 110%. Bullshit.
Oh man, what was I just thinking of with the like offensive line stuff? It's just like, oh,
Gibby's about to give like, this episode is going to be Gibby, be like, here's all my grievances from 2009 with The Blind Side. Fucking hate this movie.
Sandra Bullock and The
I haven't
Blind
thought about
Side.
this movie in like a good 15 years, man. Like, it's been some time. Actually, no, that's not correct math at all because that's before the movie would have come out. I'm very tired.
The movie came out 14 years ago.
Time is a strange thing.
2009. It was 14 years ago.
Stop. How dare you?
I haven't thought about this movie since 15 years ago when the announcement of the project came out.
Wow.
But no, I do sincerely think that's interesting because Kaylie, you kind of like hit something on there where it's like, I'm an actor and I was just given a script. I didn't look into it. I was given a script and I made a thing, blah, blah, blah.
Or like,
blah, blah.
hopefully you do your research, but that's sort of to get familiar with, these are real people that did a real thing. And can I know necessarily what happened? Like, I mean, probably not because I didn't live that, but based on what somebody has written for me in this script, I'm going to try to bring that into this.
But I think at a certain point, right, just because of how expansive, like this was an Oscar-winning movie, right? At a certain point, whether Sandra Bullock, who was already a very prolific actor at the time, there's a certain point where I feel like even if you didn't know, some of the responsibility falls on you. Or especially when somebody like, we keep using Sandra Bullock because she's the most recognizable name, but like all the big actors, all the big producers, even if you have a bunch of clout, even if you didn't know what was going on, you helped perpetuate the lie, right? So I'm not saying you have to give up all the profits you made to do it, but I feel like I'm very curious as to what could be expected of somebody.
Well, and I think that's the question is like now in this point, if things came out retroactively and either you did or you didn't have any suspicion or knowledge while you were making this project, but even I think shortly after the movie came out, the real Michael Orr had issue with those portrayals. Like I remember there were things kicking around a couple years ago that were kind of looking into that, where it was like, hey, I actually really hate this freaking movie because now that's all people look at me and see. Like I've tried to make a career in professional football and now this is the only thing that gets brought up about my life is something that was just based on a really shitty time in my life and not the fact that I've worked my ass off to make a career for myself. I remember there was that. I don't know if there was any substance, any knowledge, anything about the conservatorship aspect of it, but like,
I don't think so.
When you're hearing things and you know you've been involved in a project, there's a level of if you were responsible for the like assembling the pieces to come together and do it, or you had a major sway in how things were being written or portrayed or how they could be viewed. I think that's when you need to make an onus to go, either we did know this or we didn't.
Yeah.
And if we did, and we're just going to not say anything, well, then that's your choice, unless it's the receipts are going to come back to get you. But if you are an actor, more than likely you're brought in for the purposes of portrayal.
Yeah.
And you can choose to be involved. You could choose to have a stake in what you're making. But I don't like it's that. Yeah, the actors are the face of the thing all the time. The actors are going to be the face of your project because that's what you're putting in front of people. But 9 times out of 10, they aren't making these major creative decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you are very lucky and blessed, like Margot Robbie, that you can be the lead actress and one of the producers of your movie. But that doesn't always happen.
That doesn't happen very often, no.
I think what's going to happen is with any sort of like lawsuit things here or there, you can get away with a lot if you use 5 little words. based on a true story.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Based.
You can get away with a
Based.
lot.
Based.
Based.
Based blindside.
No.
That's already dumb. Hey, can I make a little relevant segue
Sure.
using the concept of the blind side? Hey, so Michael was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And speaking of Baltimore, I'm moving to Maryland because I got a new job that I'm excited about.
Tell the world about your private life. Expose yourself.
No. If they want to know what I'm doing, they can add me on LinkedIn.
Oh, good.
Don't actually do that.
Yo, shout out.
Do
Follow
it.
me on LinkedIn.
Do it.
Don't actually
hit me up,
LinkedIn.
hit me up on Indeed. Follow the crew on ZipRecruiter.
Oh, Jesus.
No, but I'm excited. I've after a long summer of interviews and a long time of freelance work with the industry shutting down and everything, with the ongoing Writers Guild and now Screen Actors Guild strikes and whatnot, which we still support, by the way.
Shout out to the Writers Guild. Shout out to Stag. Guild.
Skid.
It's very exciting to be moving on to something new and to be moving somewhere new, where thankfully I have some friends who are still in the DC area and everything. Because everybody's moving to the DC area.
DC fucking
I
rules.
will say, I have a lot of friends now that are in like Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and I'm like, shit.
DC fucking bangs.
Do I need
cool as hell.
to? Is this where I need to go next?
No, it's way too expensive nowadays.
Oh.
I mean, everywhere is expensive, but DC has gone up like exponentially.
Well, yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Not actually in DC, but just the adjacent states on the Middle Eastern coast.
I used to stay in Arlington, and it's still Arlington, DC, the DMV is still one of my favorite cities in the country.
It's a good ass time.
The DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, gotta be one of my favorite cities.
It is, yes. Those 3 states, my favorite city. Or 2 states in a district.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good
adventure.
time.
Shout outs to my homeless summer last year, where I was bumming in Airbnbs in Florida. Gibby's homeless summer this year, where he gets to chill in his parents' lake house on Lake Michigan. Life is unfair.
They would have accepted you up here as well. You're basically their
I had to
second
work,
son.
sir.
I don't want this to be taken wrong, but the title "My Homeless Summer" sounds like some like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure spinoff or an isekai something or other. I don't know why.
My Homeless Summer is the name of my really bad indie band.
Nice.
But like kids with like jean jackets with buttons on it are super into it. I have a jean jacket with a lot of buttons on it. Am I gonna front like I don't?
just bought these new $70 to $80 distressed jeans.
70? Shoot, you shop at Ross?
Yes.
I only go to Ross and Marshalls.
Wish I could
for
find
my
some
ripped
good ass
jeans.
jeans for $70, bro. Are you kidding me?
I never said they were good. I just said they were expensive and they were distressed.
I wear really baggy beige clothing and that I paid $300 for the socks.
So, suffice to say, I've been traveling over the last couple days, and I will be traveling more over the next couple of days before job things start. And I was very tired. Kaylie's very tired because
I'm always very tired.
Yeah, but you're extra very tired because you're coming back from. I'll let you.
Oh yeah,
announce.
no, I'm similarly in a state of job transition as well, not going anywhere, but I'm getting married later this year, and so I've been back and forth tending to projects that are unnecessary but I think look good, so I have to be there to put them together and meet with vendors and finalize things and do all that. I just finished a run of Sweeney Todd, and I'm about to start rehearsals for another show on top of 2 other cabarets that I'm going to be a part of within the next month and a half. And
Did you just sheesh?
I think I did. My bad.
I will reach through the internet and punch you in the jaw.
Yeah, I forgot the connotations of sheesh.
Did you just This motherfucker really just sheeshed. I'm so
Editor
angry.
Gibby, put in a punch sound effect so that way the audience doesn't know whether or not Bo actually reached through the internet in the next month and a half. And
Did you just sheesh?
Falcon punch!
I did forget, in fact, that it is a very Kyle thing to say.
So angry at you right now.
It's okay. I understand your anger.
I
Kaylie,
understand.
Kaylie, you are.
But yeah,
part
no,
of
I
shows.
am everywhere and nowhere at once, and I
Hire
only
this
want to
lady.
die a little bit on the inside.
Hire this lady if you're casting in the Buffalo, New York area.
Please.
Hire this lady.
Please.
And
Give her
Bo,
work. She's good.
it-
Nah, motherfuckers don't need
Bo-
to know what I'm doing.
you're a grown ass adult, and that's
I'm a
enough
grown
to
ass
make
man.
you
I get up
tired.
at 7 a.m. to go to work. Go fuck yourselves. Get a real job. You artist.
Wow. Wow.
Wait, I can say that now too. I'm gonna be working 40 hours a
He's
week.
a Fed. Gibby works for the Fed.
Don't make me
No.
out you and your improv after work shenanigans.
I actually haven't done that in a couple weeks. I'm mad about
Yeah,
it.
no, I know it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
But you did. You did at one point.
Yeah, he looks down upon us for our nerdy shit and
Mhm.
dorky things.
And then goes off to improv class.
It was really, most of it was really fun. I could do an entire episode on what I think about LA improv. But I
Ooh.
think I would burn a lot of bridges that I don't want to burn
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's probably already 100 different podcasts about guys' opinions on LA improv.
I'm also like not anything in the world of LA improv, so I just be random Joe what's his fuck saying, and that doesn't mean anything.
I'm also auditioning for like 5 different things, and one of them is going to be an improv comedy sports team.
Ooh, that's fun.
Well, that's intriguing.
So even
Yeah.
if I don't get in, I'm excited just to see what they're going to have
Yeah.
us do.
yeah.
Yeah, you still get to enjoy it either way.
What's the group called?
Comedy sports. They've got teams all over the country.
Comedy Sports in Buffalo, New York. If you don't hire this lady, I will flying kick you. You will not. Nope. You will not see it coming. You will not be prepared. But my size 11 and a half will go straight into your jawline, and it will not be comfortable.
We're not even including the fact that like the flying kick starts in LA and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
jumping from
That's
there
a lot.
to Buffalo.
That's a lot of velocity, man. I got plenty of time to pick up
See,
speed.
okay, but I was imagining like a chancla, like a slipper that's going flying first. And that's the first impact, and then Bodio comes like 10 seconds delayed.
It's a 2-hit combo. I've been playing too much. I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter, man. I'm ready for it. You throw the fireball, then you EX flying kick right behind that sucker. I'm ready to
Yeah,
go.
he learned it from living in LA. It's his new skill that he's picked up like it's Baldur's Gate.
I was going to say he unlocked a new path on the skill tree.
Or,
So anyway about it, because we're all tired.
it's episode 50, y'all. God damn.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This has been amazing.
We
It's
haven't
been-
stopped doing this dumb thing.
Right.
Hooray!
No, seriously. It's been very fun to do it with you all. If you've been with us since the beginning, thank you so much. If you came way halfway through, thank you even more. If you're just joining us for the first time, what up? I hope you stick around.
You picked a strange place to begin.
But now you can work backwards through time.
maybe
Whoa.
skip the first couple of episodes. I'm not so proud of those anymore.
Okay, all right. Here's what I will say. That may be true for most of the first 10. However, I am still extremely proud of our fan fiction episode
Yes.
because for some reason that's one of the ones where I did the heaviest amount of research about it.
You
You have
And
a
we
great
had a
rant
lot
in
of
the,
fun.
you've got some great bits in that one.
You peak early and it's all downhill from there. So this episode is going to be, as you may have noticed for the last 20-ish minutes or so, a lot more relaxed and laid back than usual.
Hey, we don't have a topic.
After hours.
You know, every other podcast you listen to where it's just people shooting the shit, that's this one.
That's you You asked for it. We delivered.
I don't know if they
more
asked
of the
for it.
same thing you already
Yeah.
listened to.
I suggested with this idea of this episode being like, let's talk about some of our history of performance, like whether that means on stage or on podcasts and everything. Like what exactly that means for you. Maybe even going into when did you get started? When did you do all this? What's kind of your artistic journey? Because things have changed for us a lot, not only across the duration of the podcast, but across, our entire artistic careers. Some things that we haven't really talked about since episode 1.
Yeah.
We've sprinkled some stuff in here and there, especially Kaylie, like doing the heavy lifting of lots of plays.
She got a master's degree.
I got a master's for something. Whether or not it was the right degree is anyone's guess.
You sure do have that piece of paper at the very least.
I got that paper, baby. It's hanging up on my
hanging up
wall.
on her wall. It's beautiful.
Hi, Editor Gibby here. Just wanted to say that at about this point, something random happens, and we all collectively lost our minds for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to cut ahead to where we got back on topic after Bo wrangled us crazy kids back in. Eventually, we will release that ridiculousness as its own bonus episode whenever we start up a YouTube channel, because it's seriously 18 and a half minutes of utter absurdity. But it'll be fun. So look for that as a little episode 50.1 later on this year. Bye-bye.
I think recently, like we were talking about, right? What I feel both most enchanted by, but also most disappointed in is the active improv. Active improv. It's an acting tool. Whoever says improv isn't acting is a liar. But it's kind of, and I think it's because I'm in LA, right? I'm somewhere where there are a glut of people who want to pursue acting. But I can't tell you, even me, who's somebody who's doing this like amateurly, right? Doing this shit casually. I can't tell you how many times I've heard the phrase, "Oh man, you can go here, you can perform here, you could do this, you could try out with these guys, you won't make $1." And I'm like, aren't most of you assholes out here trying to make dollars doing this stuff? Why are there so many venues not to like excel on stage? First off, why are there so many venues where the position is not to make the people there excel on stage? I have an issue with that. But why are there so many venues to have people be on stage and you're not getting paid to be there? You're paying them so you could be there, right? It's one of the reasons why I relate so much to the SAG thing, right? Because when we think about actors, right, we only think about the Sandra Bullocks, the Benedict Cumberbatches, these people who make the Margot Robbies, the people who make millions and millions of dollars just for showing up on set. When 99.9995 of these dudes don't even qualify for that, right? Like I think, and these numbers don't take them for like what I'm saying. I think I'd have to look up the specific ones, but I remember hearing something around the lines of, in order to be in SAG, you have to make about $26,000 from acting in order to qualify
from your acting contract.
Yeah, in order to qualify for SAG, and only 20% of the actors in LA even get there. Right, but what benefits SAG benefits every actor in LA. Right. So if you've ever been confused, like, what are these people fighting for? They're all millionaires. That's like saying you have a job, you have to be rich, right? Or you have a car, it must be, a Mercedes Benz with all the bells and whistles. No. No, most of these dudes are just like you and me, making making barely enough to pay rent and feed themselves, right?
Yep.
And I like that I've been exposed to that Because my question for myself as an actor has always been, yeah, I know I'm good at this stuff, but how do I perform when lunch money is on the line? Right. The answer is I perform fairly well if I'm allowed to like play myself up louder than I usually do. I do okay. I carry my weight. I know I can, at least on stage. I still haven't been in like a film situation. At least on stage, I'm pretty fucking good at this shit. But there's not a lot of lunch money to go around, you know, which has been very eye-opening for me personally.
Yeah. And you have the benefit of like having a job that's not invested in performance. Like not having to like have this be your main like source of income and anything.
And the crazy thing is 95% of actors, that's the case. Acting isn't their main source of income, right? I'm in the benefit of I work a white collar job in real life, right? And whether I get to perform on stage or not, I'm good, right? Like a house slot, and when you're talking about improv teams, or if I were to start doing real auditions, like Kaylie does, right? Being in a play or getting on a film set isn't going to make or break what I make this month. It's barely, if I get paid at all, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I made $2 tonight. Fuck yeah, dude.
Right. Here's your gas money.
Yeah.
Great.
LOL. Gas money's $5.20 out here.
Here's a gallon of gas.
Here's half a gallon of gas.
It's like the old wrestling terminology of like you work for a hot dog and a handshake.
Yeah, I mean sincerely though.
Yeah.
But what's also rewarding, at least in LA, right? There are still some bastions of like, we do this shit for the love of it. Shout outs to World Greatest Improv in East Hollywood. I've only been through their doors a handful of times, but those folks are like really doing it for the love of it. There's a lot of passion just for the art form, for their performers. They don't charge an arm and a leg for classes. Their shows are free, and they just go on donations. They give out. This is a theater in LA. This is a theater in LA where they give out free alcohol just because you showed up to watch a show.
Hell yeah!
And then they run the theater on donations and goodwill, man. Like those people are kicking ass, man. I sincerely like that place.
Nice.
Even in the depths of like all the bullshit that's been happening, not only in LA, but me discovering, okay, this is how grimy everybody likes saying quote the business. Everybody's business is quote the business. But this is how grimy, and I'm on the outskirts of it. I'm nowhere near neck deep, like how some people who really get into it, right? I've just got my toes in the water. To know that there, in spite of all this stuff that I spent the last like 5 minutes whining about, there are still passionate people. There are still people who are like doing this stuff and trying their damnedest to make sure other people can do it is very, very heartening.
And let me tell you what, man, film acting's weird. It's weird.
Tell me about it.
Stick with the stage. I only have ever done like film acting, like a serious piece once. Like I grew up making like videos with friends in the backyard, you know, with a camcorder, only being able to start and stop on like tape because it was an old one, like before digital and all that. And like that's all silly fun. Being in front of the camera, even in like a student production, when somebody is like holding the $50 boom pole and mic that you rented from the university, and like you're trying to help your friends get a good grade and everything, and like that's weird enough as is, especially because you're doing the line over and over and over again so that they can get the shots that they need and check the lighting and like hurry up and wait and everything. That's weird enough as is, especially when it's supposed to be like a dramatic or emotional sort of sequence. It's kind of alien. Like after like all of us grew up doing theater acting first and stage performance, like I just remember how like uncomfortable I felt like in that sort of environment. And I can only imagine that feeling escalates when it's not about grades for advanced filmmaking 401 in school, but like, hey, jobs are on the line and not just yours.
Yeah.
Like the pressure that brings in for people to be able to act naturally on camera or like bring the right performance to that environment. To me, that is pretty incredible. Like not only that, but with voice acting too. It's just so different than like anything we've done. Like, I don't know how much I agree with like this statement anymore, but like Bo and I had a theater teacher who had a sign up in the classroom that said something like TV is furniture, movies are entertainment, theater is life. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much I fully agree with that statement, but it does kind of highlight the difference in that like theater is live and in person, and you know, it feels for us a little bit more natural than like something that is so produced and fixated from so many different angles. With cameras and everything. Like, Kaylie, have you ever done like a lot of on camera stuff?
I think most of my stuff that I've done on camera has been my own projects or materials for like either stuff that I've been working on, my friends have, or it's an office that I'm involved with. But I think other than the pilot for one webcomic that I was very excited to be a part of, but I don't think it ended up really going anywhere. Many, many moons ago, I really haven't done a whole lot as far as searching for on film, like on camera opportunities. And I think that's because anytime that I was on camera in those sort of like, we're going for dramatic, we're going for nuance because it's film, and it's exactly to your point, it's a little more entertainment-y. Like, it makes you think. It feels like some of it can cut real deep to life through a screen, but there is something about recognizing the constraints of how you have to go about making those shots, the sound, the lighting, all of that I sit there and I go, this is too much pressing down. And if I'm going to be on camera, I am already exaggerated enough as a human being that I would rather, if I'm going to be on camera, I'd rather do it where I'm not worried about that reading wrong, because I can edit it in a way that matches my energy.
Right.
Like, I love making, like, anytime I get a video project, I want to make an excuse to make like edutainy, like sketch infomercial style videos.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sucker for cheesy things like that. But also it's informative, but you can also do something fun and creative, like as that sort of like thumbnail sketch idea of like, throw this out there, you set up the scenario, you set up the bit of why you're doing this, and then you talk about, and here's what we mean by this, here's the allegory, or here's the solution, sort of thing. The only on-camera work that I'm interested in doing is commercial work. For that reason, is that it's a little bit larger than life. It feels like normal every day, like it can.
Yeah. Or
it's deliberately meant to feel exaggerated in some form. Whether that's no one's house is actually that clean, or man, this person seems really like they're really feeling it compared to everybody else around here. Like, whatever that is, I feel like that sits more comfortably with just how I operate day to day anyways. That I
I'm
think
using
that
my
would
platform to reach out to Mr. and Mrs. Swiffer to get Kaylie booked in the next Swiffer commercial.
Hey, national spot. I won't
the Pine
say
Saw
no.
family. Y'all need some work. My girl's right here.
The Pine Saw ladies kind of got that locked down.
No, she's gonna die one of these days.
I don't believe that. The Pine Saw lady is immortal. Like, she is unkillable.
She's an immortal goddess.
She's immortal. So is Flo from Progressive, and so
Flo
is
an
new...
elder god who has emerged from beneath the surface.
Flo has always been and always will be.
See how unnaturally high her hair is. That can only be the work of indescribable horrors.
Hey, all I'm saying is that in all the Progressive commercials, I see four riders on their pale horses. They are the signal of the apocalypse.
No, the allegory of Progressive insurance agents as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I'm here for it.
The AT&T girl is a new god trying to overthrow
the
Progressive.
Yeah. Ooh, the lore deepens. No, but I think that's why, like, I'm so much more drawn to the, like, more exaggerated side of film. And there are some movies out there that do that, but that's not the typical current Hollywood stylings of movie production. We've kind of moved away from dramatic, like, I mean, not like dramatic sad, but like over dramatic, like less, melodrama, less realism. We're pretty solidly still stylistically, I think we're getting away from realism, but acting, I don't really see that changing too much. Which is why then if it's not on film, I'd rather be voice acting, because that is a whole you just close your eyes, see what you're hearing, and you run with that to make something. Or I like sticking with theater because what you're seeing is what you're getting, and I think I agree with the quote, Gibby, and that theater is life, but only because when you're watching theater and you are in a room with somebody, like, giving their soul out on stage, like, that is life in that moment, because you can watch that performance on film and still feel something, but it's that you're sitting in that room and right now this is life, and whether it's you're nailing it or you're not, it is all about here and now in the moment. And I think I've just also workhorse myself better to, like, operate in that this is the long haul. We're doing this story for 2 hours. Yeah. How am I getting from A to B to C to D? Whereas film, I think, is a very different skill set of jump emotional roller coaster from point to point based on what we're shooting today. Good luck.
And filming things out of order, potentially.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, you could be starting your shoot with one of the, like, scenes that's 3/4 into the movie, and just have to work with that.
I remember the behind the scenes of Zombieland was funny because they talked about they shot the final sequences of the movie first, so
weird.
Probably due to scheduling, because the climax takes place in an amusement park. And they have to figure out who their characters are when most of the lines that are going on in that portion of the movie are like a couple words at most, or
because they've already said everything they need to say to each other.
Yeah, and like you have the resolution of different character arcs, so you have to like assume a role and film on this day at a point in the story where your character's already found that growth and resolution, and then go back and film something where you are at the start or in the middle of that journey, just depending on schedule and everything. Like, that would freak me the hell out, where it's just like, can't we just do from beginning to end like a play, please?
And I've done projects like that, but it's so much. Again, it's why, and maybe it's taking the easy way out, because it's that, you should just be able to jump into that emotional state of being for your character. I'm like, nobody don't operate that way.
Nobody could. The best actors in the world can't do that. If they do, they call themselves method actors, and they're liars.
Right.
And shout out to the guys that play the exact same role every time.
Then they don't have to. Because they're just playing themselves. That's the dream, though.
Can you imagine, like, being Ben Stein for, like, 50 years and doing the exact same thing and just being like, I'll see it that you send my cash in the mail. Be sure to address the check to Ben Stein.
Being Robert Downey Jr. and just, like, being you.
I mean, sure.
He's also a very good actor. I'm not going to take that away.
That's the thing.
him.
I was like, there are roles where it's that this is just himself.
Mhm.
But then there's times where I'm like, my God, I didn't even recognize that this was you.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like Good Night and Good Luck, honestly, fantastic movie. But like shout out to the fact that there are these types of actors who are brought in to play the exact same type of character or play themselves.
Yeah.
And people actively desire that.
Right. Oh, to just be desired for who you are as an entity.
I wish.
Yeah, like just the fact that like who are some other people that can just play the exact same role every time? Like
fuck, what's his name? Jurassic Park, Independence Day, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Jeff
Goldblum. Yep.
Jeff Goldblum, pretty similar. I was also thinking
Danny DeVito.
Just come be a little gremlin. Got it.
Samuel L. Jackson is here to either say motherfucker or to give the essence.
Post like
of
2005 Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
For sure. Like post Snakes on a Plane, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Like there's this one lady who has been the de facto Hillary Clinton impersonator for the last 30 years or so, to the point. No, it's like not an SNL alum. Like you wouldn't know her name. She's even got a website that's like HillaryClintonImpersonator.com where
God damn, leave that lady alone.
Well, it's just that like whenever they need somebody on a sitcom, and this ranges from like The Nanny to like 2016 like meme videos and everything.
Oh, interesting.
She's the impersonator, and she's like capitalized on it. And like
for her.
one of the many ripples of the 2016 election is that we don't know her name because we haven't seen her as often recently.
Aye.
Just one of the many ripples.
Where is she now?
That changed. I don't know. She's probably made a lot of bank. Just like the lady did a bunch of shows.
Yeah.
Like she might have. She did a lot of late 90s and mid 2000s comedy, and we applaud her for finding her gig and sticking to it.
Absolutely.
Secure that bag.
When it comes to things like performance, I want to know about your inspirations and like whether it was like some of the early things you saw as a kid, or like your first time seeing somebody on stage or in media or anything, like early inspirations as well as like ongoing things nowadays that shape the way that you look at performance or bring it to the stage, the microphone, the podcast, however you do. Like what are the things that really inspire you?
Wow.
I know it's a lot to think about. It doesn't have to be like in this essay. No, because this is not the episode for structure.
No, I mean, I think I know the answer to this already though, because I think the things that really affected me, maybe should have indicated that I was a little neurospicy or something, because I was into cartoons. I was really, really into cartoons, animation. Immersion. To the point that I think it took a while to like reestablish the line of like, where is reality? What could actually exist in a real space and shape and dimension versus what is stylized or idealized in such a way that I was like, oh, but you could make something look like this, behave like this. If this was real, XYZ. I was very, very caught up in voices in that way. And combined with growing up like on Disney and living very close to the parks, like when an annual pass was actually cheap to do, if you were a local, we went a lot. And so the spectacle of like their shows, their parades, like always, like, I think resonated with me, but it was less about like, I want to be a Disney princess, so much of just like, it's so cool that you can do shit like this. It never felt solidly like, what am I doing with my performance? until I think I was in high school. Like, I went to New York. I saw my first Broadway shows and realized, oh my God, like, people, like, I love doing the musicals. Like, I love doing theater, but only like me and 8 other people out of an entire cast actually seem to give a shit. But here, they've been doing this show for a year.
Yeah.
Like, I think this was coming up on a year of Newsies being on Broadway at the time at the Nederlander. And they're still, like, giving it their all. People can do that? Like, everybody can be that excited about a show? What? Like, so really, it was, I think, those sort of just 3 different corners of, like, not attached to reality, stylized, over the top, and just sort of committed. I think those were the pillars that ended up sort of shaping me, because I don't think I ever had a specific, like, oh, I was inspired by so and so. Like, I loved this person in this thing, and I wanted to be like Morticia Addams. I wanted to be Lucille Ball. Like, it was never that. It was, I really like how this character sounds. Like, I really love Michael J. Fox because I love his performance as Milo Thatch in Atlantis. Or I really love like Tara Strong because she's so, I love how many things that she can do, and some of them sound the same, but they sound distinct enough as different characters based on minor adjustments that it's that, like, that's what I would clock, not I'm emulating this thing. If there was anything I was emulating, it was like an anime side of being into animation as a dweeby middle schooler. But I think that was more fangirl obsession rather than, like, I am modeling the beginnings of my artistry after you so much as I want to live in a pretty stylized world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no wonder you liked Barbie so
I
much.
love that shit. Are you kidding me? This is what I mean though with the, like, Greta Gerwig was very inspired. I think we talked about this last time. She's very inspired by all these classic Hollywood movies that were built on sound stages that were done with practical effects, and that's what made it so exciting, was to see that in space again. Because maybe kind of coming from the perspective of an actor, you can kind of read into the energy that's being exchanged on camera. I think sometimes, like, you can definitely feel it when you're watching theater, but sometimes I think you can still kind of read that in minor facial cues and expressions on camera. There were so many moments in that movie that seemed to have those, like, just genuinely delightful kind of connections between actors, because you're giving them everything to work with. Like, here are they with each other. Here's their set. Here's their props. Here's everything in the world for the most part. And you're giving them that, and you're letting them go and have fun with that. And we don't get that in Hollywood currently. And it's why it feels stinted. And I don't care about, like, the acting as craft in that regard. You
want to be able to play.
Yes. Let me run around on a big giant soundstage and dance with all my Ken buddies.
There you go. $300 million movie.
Yeah.
Bo, what about you?
I don't have one. I mean, sincerely, right? Me going into, like, performance. It started with, like, music and singing in school and church and whatnot. It was how I differentiate myself from my brother. My brother was the athlete. He was the football player. He was the football star. And I was...
He's a runner. He's a track star.
Yeah, no, I was shorter than everyone else, and I got sick all the time. And so the one thing I could do, I could sing. And y'all know me, I tend to be negative, right? It's something I work on. Now I do it mostly for comedy.
Now you do it with purpose.
Yeah, now I do it on purpose, mostly. It's a thing I'm working on.
Weaponize your negativity.
You've heard of weaponized incompetence. Now get ready for weaponized negativity.
Yeah, but part of that is I'm more critical on myself and the things I like than anything else. So part of me pursuing something is if I'm gonna do it, and I'm actually gonna do it, I'm not just gonna give it a try. I'm gonna do my damnedest to be pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Because people say this shit all the time, but I am my own biggest critic. So just by aspect of doing it over and over again and saying I didn't like that, here's what I would do better. So it's like, okay, then go do better, me. That's it.
Yeah. Really, like the thing that I wanted to know about, just because I didn't get the opportunity to go see it, was like your work with The Great Gatsby, because like you were the man, like you were Gatsby himself.
The man.
Fuck, what year was that? 2019. Shout outs to the Naples players, in Naples, Florida. Great community theater. They had a random dude walk in, do a quick audition, and they were like, hey, we're gonna make you the Great Gatsby.
Him.
Yeah, I literally showed up out of nowhere.
That's my boy.
No, I showed up out of nowhere, and they were like, do you want to be the main character? And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know.
I just got here.
That was this is mean. That definitely wasn't like my most fulfilling role that I think I've ever had. I think that goes to Tuskegee, the integration of Tuskegee High School, just because of what that show meant to me personally. That's another one we did in college about who would have guessed that the integration of Tuskegee High School, or the failure of it, more accurately. But Gatsby was definitely important to me as a performer because it was my first and, as of right now, only lead. Because at that point I had known I'm a good performer, I'm a good enough actor, but I don't know if I can carry a show.
Yeah.
And I did.
I think I had the same recognition with Antigone, where it was that like, oh, feck, this is what I've wanted after 4 years, but now it's crunch time.
Yeah.
And it's just talking.
Yeah.
It's so much talking. Fuck.
Gatsby didn't feel scary. It was one of the benefits of going somewhere where I didn't know anybody and just kind of like showing up. It never felt scary because
nothing to lose.
Yeah, I had nothing to prove to anyone. I just showed up. I'm like, what up? I'm the black dude on stage. What's good?
Right, wild card.
Yes.
Hello.
Sidebar, I was the only person of color in that show, and they cast me as Gatsby, right?
Which is a very interesting, like, ooh,
it was a bold choice, right? But it makes me feel better because I was the only person of color who auditioned. They were like, well, we have to put you in the show. Right. And this role makes sense, and
get this man a role.
Yeah, and it's like, we think this is the role that would fit for you. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because they actually had me read for Nick.
I was gonna say, like, I think my first impulse would have been Nick, but like I can definitely see you playing into like I was also really upset that I couldn't get out there to see this one, and I was like an hour away from you.
Yeah, I couldn't come see Mamma Mia for you because I was also an hour away from you.
I know,
because we were both in
just
shows
like,
at the same time.
Fuck, no! Screaming across a body of water.
Right.
I just gotta get into play like at the same time. You're gonna see me on a marquee in Buffalo and just be like, how did that even wasn't at the same time?
How did he get here?
But Gatsby was my first time being cast in an important role with a character who isn't like me, which was because one of the most profound acting tips I ever got was back in fucking 2010 in high school. Was the point of acting isn't to find yourself in the character, it's to find the character in you or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, put yourself into the role and just say the words and see what happens, right? It's like, stop trying to be like, but I'm trying to pretend to be this person. It's like, no, you're you in this situation saying these lines. Go for it. And that phrase has made me a better actor since I was like 17. And I hope I've only been getting better. Yeah, man, Gatsby was a very cool experience. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about it.
Do you think that like it might not have felt as fulfilling because there was more focus on carrying the weight of the show on your shoulders, and like
no pressure.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I if I said it wasn't fulfilling, I apologize, because that's not what I meant.
No, not as fulfilling.
Yeah,
I mean, because it was. I
think I was going to. I think I thought, because you do theater through high school and college, and you're like, oh, if I can only be the lead, it'll fucking be life changing.
Yeah.
And then I was finding the lead, and it wasn't life changing. I was doing the same shit. I just talked more often. Right.
Yep.
I thought it would be like, oh, this is gonna make me the best actor in the world. I'm gonna act circles around everybody. I'm gonna be like fucking.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, you're still an ensemble. You're only as good as your worst performer. And your job as part of the ensemble, as part of the team, is to make your worst performer fucking rad. That's the same if you're tree number 2. That's the same if you're Hamlet, right? And so, like, even from a different position, I was in rehearsal more often. I had the second most lines after Nick, I think. I was the person, when I walked on stage, everybody looked at, because I was playing the guy with his name on the fucking title. But honest to God, it was no different from just being man number 6 in the background,
Part of the Arctic crew in Frankenstein.
I was the only hey, hold up. I was the only Arctic crew member who said anything. Fuck it. I cold opened that show.
You were the captain.
Spotlight.
The problem is I'm thinking of our goofy ass late night Halloween show where y'all just sort of shot the shit for most of the intermission.
I will also shout out Bo in the performance of Frankenstein that I saw, which was his performance was great.
Thank you.
Except for the way you squared up in the middle of it, like that part where I distinctly remember a moment where you like square up against either like Frankenstein,
it's probably the monster.
or the monster.
I would say when the monster finally shows up.
Yeah, the monster finally shows up on board, and like your stance, I was just like, you're getting whacked, man. The monster's gonna like one hit KO here.
Which means
you're
I played the
roles
off that. Yeah, man. Frankenstein.
I know, it was a silly
That's
thing.
a show. That's the only show Kaylie and I did together in college.
Yeah, and we'd never had a scene together or anything, because I was just there for 2 bits, and then I got to sit backstage the entire night until we threw paper out a window.
I was there for the very beginning and the very end. I think I've said this on the podcast before. Shout outs to Chase.
Yeah.
That show sucked. It was bad.
Oh damn.
But with Frankenstein, that was the most I had ever said on stage. No, it's not. That was the first monologues I had ever had on stage.
You said more in that than you did in Bye Bye Birdie back in high school.
Fuck Bye Bye Birdie. But no, that
I was in the orchestra.
I think that was the most intimidating show I've ever done. Not because it was good, but because it was cold open, spotlight, me by myself. Right, I opened the show. I closed the show on stage. I didn't close the show. But
it was
the first.
There was a lot going on.
The first thing anybody saw for that show was just me talking for 5 minutes, no break. That shit was wild.
And I was having a bad time because I had a cold while I was watching it. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, Gibby, do not blow your nose right now. You wait until somebody else comes on stage.
Kaylie, I don't know how you felt about that show. We tried a lot of, quote, artistic shit in that show, and nobody got it.
That's the thing. I think there's a great way of playing with the elements that were, and I'm like, ooh, conceptually, I think this is a really fun idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard some people, I guest episoded on another podcast, and we talked about like college theater. And I love when college theater gets weird.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the few
guaranteed
safe spaces of being able to just do weird shit, and it doesn't matter if you recoup money for the most part. Like some places do depend on their ticket sales. Some places go, this is a state university, do whatever you want.
Right.
Like, we already have the rights to the show, do whatever interpretation you have in your vision. that like there's room for weird experimental shit, and I love doing that because you don't often get to in professional spaces unless you have somebody shilling a lot of money for it, or you're kind of throwing together what you can with what you have in order to make it weird and funky. That I love when you get the chance to do those things, but unfortunately your college audience is not always going to understand your college theater. So that's sort of the swing and the miss there, is you can do something really funky or interesting for your through lines, but if people don't
I feel
read
the
that,
same way
then-
about the other show. I saw Kaylie in as many shows as I could in college, but the only show I saw in college that I didn't like is, and this is a bigger conversation, but I want to bring it up because I'm thinking about it. I really didn't like Drowsy Chaperone. And I know that's like a super important show, especially to you and your partner.
Yeah, Ian will fight you.
Yeah, but I think the reason Drowsy Chaperone specifically is a show made for theater people.
Yes.
And their argument is people don't have to get the jokes. It's for us. But I'm like, that's not a good argument because there's a lot of problematic shit in here, and I understand that that's the joke.
Sure.
But 99% of your audience doesn't get that that's the joke, so all they see is the problematic shit, and they think it's funny, which is problematic. It's the same as Robert Downey Jr. being in blackface in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, Tropic
it's
Thunder.
like, I get that's the joke. I get that he's a literal
You can
clown.
layer that however you
He's
want.
still in blackface through the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Drowsy Chaperone, not that extreme, but still, I didn't have the words for it.
There's one scene. Yeah, there's one scene at the top of Act 2 that's I thought this was the B-side of the record. This is a completely different show, but there's a lot of the same cast. They're white actors playing these Asian characters, but that was just the style of the time. And like they play up a whole joke of it
acknowledging
on stage
it doesn't excuse it, though. I'm of the opinion that acknowledging that we're doing something wrong does not excuse that you're doing the wrong thing. You know? I don't feel super passionately about that. I just wanted I was just thinking about it because we were talking about college, right?
Yes.
Hey, speaking of weird shit in college theater, can I talk a little about Mr. Burns a little?
Yeah. Gibby killed. I had already graduated. I'm so sad I missed this show.
Traitor.
Gibby and Kaylie were in a show called Mr. Burns. Which is
post-electric play,
which is post-apocalypse, where the only thing they have of the old world to cling on is old scripts from The Simpsons.
But not like they were written down. It's just like instead of telling stories and fairy tales around a campfire, it's let's piece. Do you remember this episode? Yeah, he went da 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 da. No. I think it was like da 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 da, and then this happens, and this happens, and then 70 years later, it turns into a weird religious cult opera thing based on a Simpsons
apparently
episode.
Andrew Gibby Gibson had the fucking performance of his career.
He did
during that show. I'm so sad I missed it. I'm so sad I couldn't come and see it.
So Mr. Burns, a post-electric play.
You have to say the whole thing like a pimp named Slickback.
Mr. Burns.
The best way to describe it is just that it's the kind of play that theater academics write about.
Including Ian.
Ian loves to write about this fucking play. He loves to show all of his students
He's published a thing for writing about it.
Yeah. It's such a bizarre thing that if you like bring your family and extended family to it, like unless they do some prep work and watch a specific Simpsons episode for it, they're going to be fucking weirded out. And like, no matter...
My parents still to this day, it's been 5 years almost since that show.
Yeah.
They are still weirded out and don't understand what they saw.
Yeah, because it's a weird fucking play. And that's the energy that I tried to bring to it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like,
a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I realize my strengths as my strengths as an actor are when things are like a heightened sense of reality, or silly, or extreme, or campy, or anything. Like the first play that I remember really connecting with, or at least musical more specifically, was when I saw Seussical for the first time, and I saw at the Springer Opera House in Columbus, Georgia, and I saw this woman bring the Cat in the Hat to life, and just with all the eccentricities and all the body language, things that I, would never think about. Because when you're a kid and you're given a script for like church plays or like, here's the president's, the play, like you are basically a 2x4. Like you are going to be very, very wooden. Like you are just standing there. I deliver the line. I point to the thing. That's what
it's
it is.
So much about the words, and unfortunately, that's also what so many like your teachers, your youth leaders, whoever will sit there and focus on is making sure that you say the right words, because that is part of it. But you're not thinking about your body like ever.
Yeah. It's the point A to point B thing without considering like the journey alongside of that.
The vehicle of transportation.
So really, like what I am when it comes to acting is all about like body movement and how to like embody a character through like their specific like tendencies or tics and everything. And approaching something like Mr. Burns was a really fun exercise that I kind of didn't know what I was doing the whole time. Because like the way things were set up, once again with friend of the show, Chase, directing this
Dr.
show.
Bryn Gardner. What's up, Chase?
Like he's not the director that would ever tell you good job or bad job. No. He would he would give you the freedom to explore the space so long as you were hitting the blocking, remembering the lines and everything. That's really what mattered. He would give you the freedom with that. And where I came at this character was, what are the eccentricities I can bring to this to deliver the fact that this character is an absolute creep? Like the specific character of Mr. Burns in the third act of the show is essentially pantomime for representing all of the nastiness of this post-apocalyptic world. Well, what caused this post-apocalyptic world, unfettered greed and contempt for your fellow human, but also being able to bring an element of like playfulness to it, because you're essentially putting on a Grecian like tragedy, a Greek tragedy in this third act to show like how story prevails, what we cling to, and how sometimes we return to our original like forms of storytelling. So every move that I made with this character was very big and very pointed and specific. Like my specific influence with the first time I walk on stage was I saw old videos of the pro wrestler Goldust and how he would come on,
baby.
Yeah, and how Goldust would like make audiences uncomfortable because he would essentially move kind of like a Volo from Soul Calibur.
Valdo.
Valdo.
Yeah,
thank you. It's been a while.
Scary Italian man.
Yeah.
A Volvo.
Things that could make the average person uncomfortable, like the way that I would use my hands, the way that I would like slowly point to things just to be like a few shades removed from reality. And it got even to the point where like people would walk up to my parents after the show and say like, your son really creeped me out. It was just like, I win. Good. I did it.
I did my job.
To the point where like I played around with it on certain nights and even like scared some of my fellow actors. Like on the last night, there was a scene where Burns is talking to like the Lisa and the Bart stand-ins, and normally like he goes after one of them specifically to try to scare them, except with this time I flipped it and went for the other one, and I could just see through their masks and the eye holes and everything that I think I scared the shit out of them. So
Good.
Apologies to Grant and Lauren.
Shout out to Grant and Lauren.
I love you.
Yeah.
I love you too, but I definitely spooked you out a little bit. And just
The
like,
rest of us in the Act 3 crew were like, yeah, we're pretty used to this. This is just what Gibby does before we get out there.
well, the whole thing was like early on, because I wasn't like necessarily a regular actor there. Like I was in another major and everything. I was just like, am I doing good, guys? Is this right? Am I fucking you guys up? Is this happening? But like as you ease into it, it just becomes a point of like, all right, I'm going to go with this until somebody tells me to stop doing this.
Yep.
So at like different points, I'm
That's what
doing
you
like
do.
dramatic slow claps with limp wrists. I'm crawling after people on like my hands and my knees, like just going as absolutely berserk with this as I possibly can, while, you know, keeping the tone and keeping the intensity of everything. And I do love that performance, but I can't I can't explain the play because it's too goddamn weird.
Yeah, that's in an episode for an entirely
thing that's
different
an
day.
entire episode.
That's
Another
for somebody.
time.
That's for
Another
somebody
time.
smarter than me. I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to play like some CSI shit, even if I was given like a golden cameo, because the whole time I would just be like, okay, how can I bring in some like Danhausen and some Macho Man Randy
Right.
Savage into this? Because I just love these, anything that's larger than life, whether it's
Yeah.
musical or wrestling or drag race or anything like that camp aspect and that heightened performance is just what I absolutely adore and just want to like go absolutely crazy with it. No medical commercials for me.
No. Well, one of my favorite theater stories, I think, to this day, is still hearing you and Ian recount the power going out
Oh my
during one of your shows of Seussical, y'all's senior year. I think it's one of the like, what is theater? This.
Yeah.
It's just, this is it.
I'll try to keep it like short and sweet. But basically what happened was on our second of 4 nighttime performances of Seussical, I was playing the Cat in the Hat. Ian was playing General Genghis Khan Schmitz. And at, I believe it was the beginning of Act 2, when things are just getting started, our theater's entire lighting rig just goes out.
Oh.
Like the power just goes out to all of
Auburn
it.
High School
So-
Theater. You got it, man.
In our like recently renovated, upgraded
That
like,
shit, I was
setting.
in the first performances in that building. That
Yeah.
shit's been broke since they opened the door.
But now they have a new
Now
one,
they have
so
they
even
have
that
a
one
new
doesn't
one.
matter.
Fuck off.
Yeah, like seriously, like as the act starts and pretty much everybody in the play is on stage,
Mhm.
the entire lighting rig glitches and like there's just like maybe one red light behind us. And when you hear the voice of your theater director go, I don't even remember what she said, but she was just like, continue or something like that.
Continue.
I just instantly go into like, this is all part of the show. You're still being entertained. And it turned into a cavalcade of like high schoolers improvising for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. It kind of turned into a fever dream
Right.
of just like, how are we going to make this happen? How do you stay in character and suddenly improv after all of this
After
time
the
in
world
which
has gone
like
shit.
yeah
Right.
yeah exactly, and like you're
The
playing
world
with the
has ended.
you're playing with breaking the fourth wall, and then you break the fourth wall some more because somehow the choir director on the microphone and I started having a conversation in the middle of it, and it just turned into a whole thing. And it's a legendary night, but this is a part of the story I don't normally tell. Like after everything had gotten
So much for keeping it
going
short, huh?
again. Yeah, but
We're
it's
getting
funny.
the extended cut.
Yeah.
Didn't ask
yeah,
for
DX. Yeah. It's my most embarrassing moment as an actor that nobody will ever remember. So I'm throwing myself out there. After the adrenaline high of like 10 minutes of improvising and getting back on it, I forgot one cue where in the moment in which I am supposed to put my hand out through the curtain with the clover that supposedly Whoville is upon. I was like ripped on adrenaline backstage, forgot to do that. Poor sweet friend Heather Connolly.
Aw, shout outs to Heather.
Supposed to take that prop from me, was left just completely on her own.
Hilarious.
And in the brilliance that is Heather, she pretends to find the speck floating through the air instead of having to have this flower prop with it.
Good.
Hilarious.
Shout out to her and her brilliance, because I absolutely like tanked it in that moment. And she made it so that the audience didn't even realize.
And in that moment, Gibby knew he fucked up.
Oh, I fucked up hard, and I apologized profusely afterwards.
No.
And like the entire thing was just like acting.
Man, but you don't know who didn't fuck up. You, the listener. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode 50. Thank you so much for joining us throughout the podcast. And as we keep going, follow us on our socials at liveartistpod. Almost said liveartistpod.com. Gross.
GeoCities, Angel Fire.
Yeah, ew. Join us next time when we describe the association of the phrases box jellyfish and big Shakespeare.
Dun, dun, dun.
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodio, Kaylie Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to White Hot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
I am interested as well to know like what when it comes to things like performance with like who be beeping?
Somebody very loud outside.
Beep, beep. Is there a motherfucking roadrunner out there?
I don't think so.
I think that's our cue because we are at time.
I was say, what was your last question?
Well, I will say this real quick. What? Get the fuck out of here, VW.